Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today with a video showcasing some layered stenciling for this fun beach scene background for these cute little chillin' gnomes. They are part of the latest release from Simon Says Stamp, the Send Happiness release, and these stamps and dies are super fun. I'm going to pair them with a whole bunch of stencils from my stash. None of these are new. And I'm even going to use a previously released die, that Good Vibes die there, to finish off my card. So let's start with stamping the images we're going to use for our card today. I am using the brand new images from the CHILLIN Gnomes stamp set. As I mentioned, this is a new set from the Send Happiness release. I love that Simon keeps bringing out some fun seasonal type of gnome images. I think they're kind of funny and fun and really just kind of add a playful touch to cards. So these little guys are all kind of summery beach scene. I am picking the two gnomes from the set. There's three. I'm using the one in the swim trunks holding the slice of watermelon, and then the other one in his swim trunks holding a beach ball and wearing some sunglasses. And then we're going to use the two mushroom images from the stamp set as kind of like beach umbrellas. And I started with the large and the small, and then I'm actually going to stamp an additional small a little bit later and color it in as well. I have stamped all my images with Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink and heat embossed with white embossing powder. And then I am going to go in with the Karin Brushmarker Pro markers and a water brush pen and color these images in. So for the mushroom quote-unquote umbrellas, we're using almond and sandstone and then red for the top. And kind of as I add the color here, you can really start to see these cute images come to life. I know it's so hard to see the white on white. For the gnome skin, I am using the Karin Brushmarker Pro in the color Skin 2. Then for the swim trunks, we're going to use gold and sky blue. And I don't know what it is, but I think the little feet and the toes sticking out of the sandals in the images are just so funny. I really love them. I think they're really, really cute. I am not really doing a ton of shading. I'm more just adding little bits of color and then blending out with the water brush pen. The amazing thing here, I think, is that you can add the tiniest touch of color from these pens and blend out with a little bit of water, and you get amazing results. Really intense, beautiful color. For the beard, we're using a little warm gray 1. And then I'm just blending all of that out. And as more color gets added here, you definitely can see more of this image. And I'm just going to add hair up the top of his head, really. There's not really eyes that you see in the gnome, so I actually just kind of colored the whole thing gray, imagining it more as hair and his beard. I suppose you could do the top of his head skin color if you want to. I just think of it more as his nose sticking out since these are gnomes. And then I will go in with a dark gray marker for the sunglasses and color over those lenses to make them dark. And he is wearing a little hat that I'm going to use the sandstone color to color in his hat. And I used a cool gray marker for the darker part of the sunglasses. This is a cool gray 3. I have listed the marker numbers and names across the screen. I kind of changed it up. I tried really hard to not have it cover up anything I was actually coloring at the time. So you can find that on the screen. I have linked to the box of markers that I purchased myself. It's linked below here in the supplies. And if you want to see the colors in a little bit slower time and not in you know, the video and you don't want to pause it or whatever, if you click the link to my blog, I have listed those out in the blog post. So for, you know, if you want that for reference. We're going to move on to the second gnome, and I'm coloring in his swim trunks in rainbow. So those are going to be here down along the bottom. A lot of the same colors. The beach ball that first gnome was holding, that's also rainbow. We'll move on to his little skin, nose and arms and legs and feet and things. He also has a little hat. He has like a little bucket hat. We're going to use some blue and lime green for that. And he's holding a slice of watermelon, which is so, so cute. For his little watermelon slice, I'm going to use a darker green and the red that I used for the top of the mushrooms, and add that there. Add that little bit of color. And again, just adding tiny touches of color and then blending it out with the water brush pen. When that watermelon is completely dry and I have die cut the image, I can go in with a black pen and I'm going to add some little seeds to that piece for a little additional detailing. Here is his little bucket hat. Again, I'm using sky blue and sulfur yellow for this. It's called sulfur yellow, but I really find it to be a lime green. And then I'm going to color in that additional little mushroom. And keep in mind that I did go ahead and stamp and color one additional small mushroom. You'll see when I start putting the card together, I really felt like it needed a little something over on the left side to balance out. We are almost done with all of our coloring, and then we're going to move on to the magic of this card, which is the layered stenciling. So stencils are one of those things that are one of my very favorite things to use to build depth and dimension without a ton of actual dimension. Can be used and layered in so many different ways. I am a huge, huge fan of the Foundations stencils from Trinity stamps, and we're going to simply tape our 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of smooth white cardstock to the back of our stencil, and I'm using the largest one from this. There's several different sizes. You get the positive and the negative. I'm only going to be using the negative here. But I want to tape this in place, and then this is going to serve as a border. So it's going to instantly add the look that we have matted our stenciled panel onto another piece of cardstock. An instant frame, if you will, which I absolutely love. Then I'm going to figure out where I want my images to go so that I kind of have an idea where I want my horizon line to be, and I'm actually going to just use some of the lines that are on the stencil itself and line up a piece of tape there, and I'm going to tape off the top. We'll start with the bottom part of our design, and I want to add a sandy border, and what works fantastic for this is the Fawn HILLSIDE stencils. So leaving that foundation stencil in place, we're just going to lay a HILLSIDE stencil and ink up with some antique linen distress oxide ink right along that bottom edge. Now, if you flip this over, you can use it as a mask then, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of mask off the sand, and I'm going to add water. And to add the water and the ocean here in the background, we're going to use Speckled Egg and Mermaid Lagoon Distress Oxide inks. We're going to start with that speckled egg. Just kind of add our color all over here. And then we'll add Mermaid Lagoon to kind of deepen and darken this. I love the two-tone look here. The speckled egg is the brand new distress color from Tim Holtz. It's a beautiful light blue. Then, leaving our hillside border in place, we're going to take the Simon Says Stamp Wave stencil and really, really gently just kind of go over this with our Distress Oxide inks that we just used. Same color, tone on tone. I do not want to add a ton of detail, just kind of give it more that illusion or that look of water. A lot of this will get covered up, so I wasn't too concerned with that. I just want the little bit you see to have some sort of texture. We're going to flip our tape then and protect the bottom part of our design and go ahead and add color to the horizon line and sky with mustard seed and spiced marmalade Distress Oxide inks. We're starting with the mustard seed, and then we'll just kind of blend in a little spiced marmalade. I want to get a good shading to that sky before we add stenciling to the sky as well. So we're using a lot of stencils here today. We've already used 3 and we're actually going to use 4. The magic of this again is that Trinity Stamps Foundations rectangle stencil. They also have circles. I will link to another video where I use the circles at the end of this one. They're really fantastic. Okay, so I actually took off my mask, and then I wanted to go back, and I saw a little spot that was missing a little ink, so I'm going to lay my HILLSIDE stencil back in place, go back in with Antique Linen Distress Oxide ink. Because I've left all of this the way it is, it's super easy to go in and kind of fix anything that you want. And I forgot to add the rays, so I removed everything. I laid out all of my images and I realized I had forgotten to add my sun rays. What's great is it's super easy to grab your stencil and put it back in place, which is what I'm going to do. And then we're going to take the My Favorite Things Ray of Light stencil, and we're just going to kind of tape that down in place right along that horizon line. And then to deepen and darken the look of this horizon line, I am going to pull in a little Abandoned Coral Distress Oxide ink and use the Spiced Marmalade and Mustard Seed. So kind of right here, I'm thinking like a setting sun or a rising sun, whatever you want to think of it as. I'm going to go in with Abandoned Coral. We will blend that out with Spiced Marmalade, and then we'll blend out further with Mustard Seed. And this is going to give the sky so much texture, plus it's going to provide a really fantastic pattern for our large die cut sentiment. And you're going to see what I mean here in just a second. I really, really love not wasting a beautiful stenciled, stamped, whatever it might be, background. And I decided to make it part of the card or the sentiment for the card so that I'm not losing that beautiful sky. And so in order not to lose my sky, and I did see a little problem with my horizon line, so again, I'm just readjusting. You can see I'm reusing the same tape and everything. I'm just going to kind of fix that little line there. You're not really going to see a lot of that because, again, some of it will get covered up with the images we stamped and colored. Let's remove all of our tape and let's grab our Good Vibes die. In fact, I've had this for a while and I don't think I've ever used it, so I'm really excited about this. And we are going to die cut the actual words from the sky. And I wanted to lay out my images. I want to kind of play with them. I want to see if everything is going to fit the way I think it's going to fit before I die cut this. And then once I'm happy with where I want to die cut my title, yes, my sentiment, I'm going to tape that in place and run it through my die cutting machine. Then we're going to carefully pop out our letters and just place those over to the side for a minute. And we are ready to start gluing in place our images. Now I made a small tactical error. I was able to mostly fix it. I am using liquid adhesive, which is not forgiving at all. And I accidentally put this small mushroom on the wrong side. It's going to take up too much room next to my two little gnomes. And I really just was feeling like it was off. It was not, I don't know, a little off center. I mean, I like it off center, but I just didn't feel balanced. That's the word I'm looking for. And when went ahead and popped them off, and I'm just going to lay them back down. It did pick up a little bit of the ink from the background, but most of that is hidden when I add in the other mushrooms. So I love to be transparent with you guys when things don't go as planned so that you can see how I fix them, because if at all possible, I really tried not to redo something. I did not want to redo all of that stenciling. That was a lot of work. I definitely could have, but I love when I'm able to kind of, you know, keep something that I've worked this hard on. So I die cut the shadow for Good Vibes from Smooth White Cardstock, and we are gluing in place the letters for Good Vibes that we die cut. So you're going to see that they're going to be really showy because we have the white outline, but they're going to line up with our background rays because we die cut them from the background. How fun is that? I love that it becomes part of the scene. I love when a sentiment becomes part of the scene. I think that's what I was looking to say earlier. And so this works really, really great. And we're even going to go over the top of all of this with glossy accents when we get all the card put together, because I love how it makes it part of the scene. It still has the rays, but it gives it that epoxy look, like it's an epoxy sentiment. Almost like an epoxy sticker or something like that. So just going to go over the background of this with a little liquid glue and then line those rays up. So I'm using the rays as a guide, and that way it slightly overlaps the mushroom, our little mushroom umbrella. Perfect. So much fun. I'm going to put some acrylic blocks on top to help that liquid glue dry flat. We're going to stamp a sentiment from the CHILLIN GNOMES stamp set. This says Sunny Days Ahead. We're going to stamp that on black cardstock with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. I want to add just a little additional sentiment. There's a bunch of fun ones in this stamp set. There's Stay Chill. There is Gnome Buddy Like You. How's it going, Gnome? Keep calm, gnome, matter what. Thanks, Gnome, summertime, and for you. So lots and lots of sentiments. And then of course, Sunny Days Ahead, which I'm using because I thought the Sunny Days Ahead worked really nice with Good Vibes. We're going to use a Simon Says Stamp Nested Banners die to die cut this. The die is a little longer than the actual sentiment, so I'm going to line it up with one side and run it through my die cutting machine. Then we're going to flip the die around, line up the other side, run it through again, and that's just going to shorten the banner a little bit so it fits this sentiment. Then I'm going to pop that up with a little foam adhesive right underneath the Good Vibes. And I've added my additional mushroom as well. You can notice that some of the images are hanging off the edge of the card. That's perfectly fine. That's what I want. I think it really gives it a great balanced look. I will be trimming off that excess kind of once these images have the glue on them has dried. We are ready for finishing touches now. That's going to include glossy accents all over our sentiment, as I was talking about a little bit. When this dries, it's going to give it the look of an epoxy sticker. It does not take that long to dry. I let mine dry and I came back like after supper or something like that one evening. So definitely doesn't take too terrible long. One of the most magic things about this though is I'm going to actually use it as glue as well, and you're going to see what I mean. I wanted to add some sort of embellishment to the top of my card, and so I'm going to be using some of these shooting star sprinkles from Little Things. And I also added glossy accents to the sunglasses. I forgot to mention, I thought that would be fun. A little white pin detail to where you can see the water hitting the sand. You can't see a lot of that because the images are in the way, but I added a little bit there. We're taking a Stardust glitter pin and a white pin and adding some detail to the sand, and then the black pin to add the seeds to the watermelon. And my glossy accents is still wet, so I'm going to take those shooting stars and we are going to glue some of those to the sky. I'm going to use Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to glue those to the sky, but I want some of them to overlap my sentiment. And so I'm just really, really carefully laying them into the glossy accents. The glossy accents is going to serve as an adhesive then for it, and then I'll have these great little sparkly touches to our sentiment. I've really been loving playing with that kind of thing lately. In fact, I'm going to link to another video at the end of this where I did some big die cut letters that I added glossy accents to, and I applied chunky glitter to them. I know a lot of you have asked a lot of questions about that, and it's just a really, really fun, easy look to achieve. We will add the rest of our little stars. We will add this to a white top fold card base, and our card is all finished. And here is a just finished look at that complete card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this layered stencil card featuring stamps and dies from Simon Says Stamp and a whole bunch of different stencils. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says Stamps and dies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.